Hello, I'm Franz. This is the April 2026 Town Hall for Concrete CMS. We didn't do a core release this month, but we are planning to spend the entire week starting May 4th working on the core, and we would love your help. So if you've got some time to volunteer, if you've got some pull requests you want to see us look at, you're willing to help review, you're willing to help triage incoming security issues or other tickets, we are going to all be hunkered down, hanging out in the forums. We'll be answering GitHub tickets as fast as we can the week of May the 4th. So please join us then and expect that to culminate in a 9.5.0 release. That supports the latest version of PHP and have a bunch of bug fixes and security improvements and small stuff in it that we have been keeping in branches and just working on. So that's the plan. With that said, let's check in with Andy and the rest of the team for what's going on in the concrete community.
I wanted to thank all of you community members for submitting documentation, your activity in GitHub, and in the forums as well. Thank you so much. We haven't had too much code activity this month, but from documentation, with documentation, we have dbuer, so thank you, dbuer. And then in GitHub, we have some activity from Ashish Anow, Hishi, C5 Dragon, M. Lokati, and dbuer. Again, we'll be doing some more GitHub passes very soon in preparation for our next releases. So stay tuned for those. And again, thanks so much.
Hello, I'm John the Fish, and welcome to the Marketplace News. Our first add-on this month is Vertical Timeline Cards by Gary Brown. You input a list of cards. The add-on then displays those cards as a vertical timeline with plenty of options for formatting and colour. Vertical Timeline Cards is $15 in the marketplace. Our second add-on this month is Nordic Blocks by David Elvar. Nordic Blocks currently provides 22 blocks and 68 templates for those blocks. These blocks are fully self-contained, with CSS to work with any theme. You can preview all the blocks and templates on a demo site linked from the Marketplace page. Nordic Blocks is $59 in the marketplace. That's all for this month, so until next time, be safe.
Hello, everyone. This month's website in the wild is Jenny's Wyoming Railroad, or WGRR.com. This website just migrated over from WordPress to Concrete. And this website is created by one of our partners, Rocks Branding. We've been seeing their work now for a couple of years. Always looks great. So thank you very much, Shay and Grant, for always providing the great work. So let's take a look here at their homepage. First thing you notice, it's clean, it's professional, actually looks like a company who moves freight at scale. The navigation here is organized around what users are trying to do. So they're trying to ship freight, find railed services, properties, explore services, and that's great information architecture. So if we navigate here to one of the other pages, they operate more than 100 different individual railroads, and each has its own page with details on track, mileage, and all different sorts of information. You can see here, maps, and it looks like it tracks the miles, the interchange connections, there's contacts, there's available services. So this interactive map lets you browse by regions, and that's kind of custom functionality Concrete handles without needing 5 different third-party plugins all duct taped together. Just works, and it stays maintainable. This is one of my favorite parts of the site. It's another interactive map, interactive property tool that lets industrial developers find their railed services that they need. Can see here each comes with a page that you can see all the information. There's some pretty granular filtering, and this is exactly where some type of lesser CMS may not give such nicely cleaned layouts and easy to replicate pages on here. So now let's take a look at another subpage. Let's take a look at the success stories. Each of the success stories here has a nice consistent structure. You can see it also has some nice filtering that you're able to do. You can take a look at each individual page. See here, there's some nice styled stats. Oh, and there's a nice testimonial block here that comes right with Concrete. And so for a team managing dozens of these, the consistency, that's everything. Templates in Concrete let you enforce structure without locking editors out of flexibility that they need for all of these details. So this site is a great example of what Concrete does at scale, a site with real complexity with all the different dealer locator maps or all of the railroad maps. And it has real user expectations and holds together very nicely. So big thanks to Rocks. They always do fantastic work. And that's it for this month. I'll drop a link to the gwrr.com website in one of our blog posts so you can poke around and see it for yourself. Until next month, take care.
Hey everybody, here's the part of the show where we highlight community contributions in the forums and try and answer some questions to some people who seem like they might be stumped. The first thing I wanted to go over was this thread on the forums, share page types across a multi-site. I won't read the whole thing, but this is basically a question of how to structure page types across multiple sites in Concrete. And I wanted to go over kind of how Concrete structures its multi-site, and hopefully that can answer this specific question. Here, WTF-LM is encountering some issues because they are building out two sites using multi-site, and they've started building one, and they have discovered that you can't share page types across site types, and that is done for a good reason. If you're building many sites in a Concrete install, some of them might be structured differently than others. For example, we have a multi-site installation where there are many sites that are structured very similarly. And so they all have the same site type, and you could have multiple sites of the same site type. And so there's like 100 of these, and they all kind of have similar site trees, and they reuse the same page types, etc. But on the same site, the same Concrete install, there are some sites that don't really fall under this setup. They use a different site structure to their sitemap, and they use different templates that are not really meant to be used in the other sites of the other type. So what we've done is we've set up two site types, and within that, you can set up different page types and then build out your sites, but the same page type cannot exist within multiple site types, and that is done just for sanity's sake. However, you can duplicate a page type into a secondary site type. And again, all of these page types have their own page templates, and those are just included in a theme. So there's no limit to how you can reuse page templates across the page types. This is just meant for the sort of under the model of understanding that is a page type. And so what is, I think, tripping up this user here is when you install Concrete, we don't turn on multi-site. So we create one site for the current site that you've installed, and we create one site type, and those are both called default. And when you turn on multi-site, you get the ability to build out more sites and to build out more site types. However, those default site types are kind of reserved for the original site that you created. And so if you decide after installing Concrete and configuring your site that you want to then build out multiple copies of this site, reusing the same site type, it gets kind of tricky because the default site type isn't made easily to be reused. So what ideally you would actually do is you would know ahead of time that you would want to do multi-site. You'd install Concrete, you'd keep that original site mostly empty, you build a new site type for the thing you're going to reuse over the course of your Concrete journey, and you would then create you'd treat that new site type as the source of truth, and you'd build out page types there. It would be shared across all the sites that use that site type, and you'd be on your way. However, the fact that they have started building out content within the sort of default site and they want to port it over is tricky. And so there's this question here. I tried setting the secondary site type ID to 1 in the sites table, and that does enable adding pages of the primary sites type to the secondary site, but it doesn't make page types list properly for both sites. I don't actually understand that, because when you're building out, and it's possible that there's more to do in the database for this, and so maybe we'll get some information back in the forums that can point the user in the right direction. But from what I'm reading, they are actually on the right track. You want to set the site type to the first one if you really want to make both of these sites work off of that same site type. That being said, there is nothing wrong with having two site types, even if it goes against the sort of conceptual model of multi-site. There's nothing wrong with creating a secondary site type and just using that going forward and copying the page types between them. Just name them something different, reuse the same page templates, and it won't be quite as elegant, but it will get you where you need to go. And don't be scared about using the tools in that way as well. And so that's what I'm trying to convey here. Again, if anyone has any wisdom about multi-site that they'd like to share with this user, please post back to share page types across a multi-site within Developing with Concrete. And I hope we can get you where you're going, WTFLM. Next question is Lemon Brain, sitemap.xml for multi-site setup. A lot of people building sites out of multi-site, which is great. We have a multi-site running. Is there a way to automatically create a sitemap.xml for each site? Unfortunately, this functionality is not yet built into the core. I've wanted to get it in the core for a while, but we're kind of haggling in GitHub over how best to include that, the best way to make that information approachable to Google. And yeah, so there is an issue with that in GitHub, so definitely check that out and help us get that over the finish line if this is something you feel strongly about. However, our good friends at Macaru, which used to be called Concrete CMS Japan, at Macaru Digital, have created a package that does just this. It is the MD multi-site sitemap. A Concrete CMS package contains a task to generate multi-site sitemap.xml. So Lemon Brain, please check that out, and hopefully that gets you where you need to go. And I hope we can get this functionality included in the core at some point in the near future. And finally, I wanted to shout out a task that has been solved in the Concrete forums. This was posted in early March. This user wanted to make it so that they wanted to customize the interval between the start and end times of the calendar to 3 hours instead of 1 hour. And if you read through this, it is quite the odyssey. I wanted to thank every Concrete member who posted in this thread, from DSDS, who opened it, to John the Fish, who is always so active in the forums, Mike on the core team being very helpful, adding his own thoughts here, other people like Concrete Owl and M Hawk sort of glom onto his approach and add their own spins on it to improve it and to make it work under different circumstances. And again, they all work together to actually get this code to run in the context that it has to run. So if you're not familiar with this, there is a Concrete attribute you can add to a page that will execute some JavaScript on the page. But what they actually do is they add this to the dashboard page that runs the calendar admin interface. So this is basically a way to augment the script behavior that was never really meant to be augmented, not by design or not because it was not useful, but just because it's all kind of tightly encapsulated in these modules. Leave it to our enterprising developers to add this JavaScript behavior to the actual dashboard page itself using Concrete. So we use Concrete to manage the content of the dashboard pages, which is quite something, honestly. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like this. And that just means I'm probably haven't built a Concrete site quite like this in a little while. So again, thank you to all the community members who put this into, who posted back to this, very confounding issue. And then even as there were difficulties rolling it out, you all stuck with it. And ultimately the proof is here at the very end of this very long forum thread. DSDS does post back saying that this helped. And thank you to everyone who helped get this across the finish line. It is much appreciated. This is why concrete still remains a useful and powerful tool in 2026. It's largely because of you. So thank you so much, and we'll see you again next month.
Okay, well, thank you, everybody. Again, I hope to see you guys online on the week of May 4th. And for April 2026, I'm Franz, and that's all we got.